Yo, Kev.
Speaking of, I just because we just posted a few episodes up on BTSN. I saw your new microphone. I think for the first time.
Oh yeah. The new mic
On the silver screen.
Yes.
It's fancy. What kind of mic is that?
I do not know off the top of my head. You're asking a question when I do not have the box near me. Yeah, I don't even remember which one I bought, but it's
okay.
It's dope.
Good job.
I should totally have an answer to that question, but I was like, please don't ask.
No, the crazy thing is that also I realized that because we've mentioned this before, but when we record, we were recording. Obviously, we are recording in separate locations, but it's not like Zoom. We are not doing something where I can see you and you can see me while we're recording,
which is important.
But I feel like it's very important to note. But I also feel like we do a good job of, I think, sort of looking like we see each other.
Yes.
I think it's mostly because we know each other so well.
Yeah.
So I know the stupid look that's on your face when I say something dumb and vice versa.
Pretty accurate. I was
very sad to see those red flowers gone though. Wherever they went, you know.
The red. Well, I'll tell you this much: the more important thing is making sure that while you're talking, I'm actually looking at the camera. Because
yes,
yeah,
no, yeah, I get it.
Because it's like I totally want to like read forward sometimes and be like, okay, Kev got this part, let me keep reading, but I know that it'll throw off the whole thing. So this is a whole production. It's a thing, y'all. We working like this is actual work.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. When I'm talking, no one's looking at you.
I consider you the star of the show. Like I'm like ready for you to take over like the article reading and things of that nature as well.
I see what you're doing. It's not going to work. I appreciate the effort, but it's not going to work.
I don't think you would make the 1619 mistake that I made. You know what I mean? I think that you would be more on point.
Oh, the 1918 project.
The 1957. One of those times. That they are not messing around. They are seriously upset with that. After that episode, like even more stuff came out. I was like, good Lord, y'all are upset. Y'all are really upset right now. This is a lot.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's why you got to do all the reading.
Saying. Yo, Kev, so you was doing some queuing today, huh?
Doing some queuing.
Nice.
It was.
Was this in celebration of the earthquake yesterday, or did y'all feel that? Or
oh my God.
How'd that go?
It doesn't matter. This is the thing. No matter how long you've lived here or live here, and I think there are a lot of people who have, our age who have moved here from other areas, right? So,
Sure.
it's still a little bit new to them. But
Sure.
trust me, everybody, it doesn't matter how long you've lived here.
No.
When it hits, either you're asleep, which was the case for a lot of people last night, in which case you might not even wake up, but that's not a function of how long you've been here.
Right.
If you wake up, or if you were like me and you're standing in the kitchen thinking this completely got your life together because you are filling the coffee pot up in preparation for the next morning.
Right.
So whenever I do that, I really feel like I'm accomplishing big adult-sized things.
The level of preparedness.
It does not happen very often, but
I'm proud.
Yeah, I'm very much feeling myself. So I'm standing there in the kitchen doing that, and it does not matter how many of these things you've been through. That thing hits, and I was like, boom. At first, it's confusion. It's utter confusion, right?
Yeah.
No matter how many times you felt it, it's utter. And then all of a sudden, it's shock and panic. But it's not shock and panic like if you see a crowd of people running at you when we used to be able to go outside. Well, if you're smart, you're either dumb and you run toward the crowd, or you're smart and you run away.
Right.
With earthquakes, that shock comes And I swear, it's like you run in place. I run in place for a little while. I get a nice jog going in, but I'm not moving anywhere because I don't exactly know where I'm going. and then I made a beeline to the kids' room. I got it together. I made a beeline to the kids' room, not exactly knowing what I'm supposed to be doing, other than keeping things from falling on her.
Right.
And by that time, it was over. So yeah. How'd you do?
So here's what's funny. I was getting ready to watch TV on the couch or whatever, and I'm like, all right, let me go in there and grab a pillow because I'm likely gonna fall asleep. So
I was gonna say, I'm shocked that you were still awake.
Yeah, I was awake. I'd woken up like 30 minutes before because I had initially fallen asleep, just napping.
You're like, that kind of old.
Yeah, I'm that kind of old, where it's like double falling asleep moments. But I was so I go in, I get a pillow from the bedroom, and I throw the pillow over to the spot on the couch where I'm gonna lay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just about the same time, or the exact time that pillow lands, the first jolt happened. So you can imagine my confusion. Like I was like, "What did I just do?" You know what I mean? And
right.
and then the whole house starts shaking. And like you said, it's the first couple of seconds, the first second or milliseconds, it's confusion. Like, what's happening right now?
Right.
And so at that point, it had gone on a little longer. Usually by the time you figure out what's happening, the earthquake's over.
Right.
But this time, it was a couple of seconds longer. So at that point, I was like, hey, everybody up. But I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody's awake and ready to take action. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And by the time everybody got into the living
Whatever
room,
that means,
where we would have all died together, the earthquake was over.
Let's have a plan so we can all die in the same location.
Basically, we would all die. So I mean, we have an earthquake kit, and we have water and flashlights and batteries and all that. So we have everything.
Good for you.
But it's like
can't turn your mic on, but
right,
you got that.
Right. Well, but it's I'm gonna admit that it's a level of greatness matched with a level of stupidity because I don't know if you've seen the Bill Burr comedy special where he's debating with his girlfriend about getting a gun, and
no,
his girlfriend is saying like, we have to make sure that the bullets are separate from where the gun is, like for safety. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he's saying, like, when an intruder comes in, what am I going to do? I'm going to run to the living room and get one piece of the gun and then run to the... Well, that's how my earthquake kit is. Like, I would have to run in to grab my earthquake kit, then run out to get this. And by the time all this happens, I live in a second story. Like, the art...
Hold up.
You know what I'm saying?
Are you saying you have an earthquake kit much in the same way that most of us have water in the refrigerator and a blanket in the cupboard?
No.
And,
it's all in one place.
Bandages in the first aid kit under the bathroom sink?
Everything is all in one place. But what I realized last night, while the earth is shaking, is that it's not in the most optimal place to get it and go. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking grab the earthquake kit, right? But I got to pass my exit to go get the earthquake kit. So we moved it into a place this morning where it's like, look, we need to leave it right here. It's not aesthetically pleasing, but it'll be in a place where we can grab it. You know what I'm saying? But
I'm so glad you did that, because that will just about guarantee that we don't have an earthquake until somebody gets tired of looking at that thing sitting in the middle of your room. Right,
exactly. I'll let you guys know when we move that thing out of the way. And then you'll know, okay, be ready for another one. But the other thing that we also did, and we realized this yesterday, again, we were prepared enough, but it always kind of happens in the middle of the night, and you want to have some spare clothes and things of that nature. So now everyone has like a grab and go at the door of their room. So
no, that's big. Yeah, that's good.
That's a kind of a thing with stuff in it. But yeah, we have the stuff we need. I have to say, like, by the time it was all over, I laid down, and it took me like another 20 minutes to go to sleep because I was thinking of how prepared I thought I was, but how absolutely unprepared I was. It was crazy.
You were doing post game for another 20 minutes.
I was like, what would we have done? Like I said, we just all met up in the living room to die together, and And the youngest would wake up. Like, I could go on and on and on. But I'll tell you an even better story that happened last night. You ready, Kev?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Check it out. I'm tossing and turning on the couch. I'm finally fall asleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel what feels like a spider crawling on my face. You know what I'm saying? So I'm coming out of a sleep and I think that it's a spider. When I open my eyes, I see like this dark figure crawling on my face, this dark thing. I take a swing, man. Bah! Pop myself right in the bridge of the nose. Daze myself. And it was like one of my own locks that was out of place. Yo, I was dazed. I was literally dazed. I don't think I've ever been hit that hard. That's the hardest I've ever been hit. So yeah, there were these two events last night: the earthquake and me almost knocking myself out.
Oh my god! I can almost guarantee this episode's not going to get any better.
No, this is the highlight of it. Oh my god, yo! I couldn't believe it. Like I absolutely could not believe that I almost beat myself up. Oh boy!
Oh my god!
That was crazy. This is crazy. And it, there had to be like a lot of actual fear from the earthquake in me as well still, because I was very reactive. But yeah, that was my night, Kev. That was last night, early this morning.
Oh, have you made a full recovery?
I have. I'm fortunate that I didn't bruise anything as hard as I hit myself.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'm on camera now. I don't see any marks or scars, so I think I'm okay. Today was hair washing day, so I also would have noticed to look at myself in the mirror quite a bit. So yeah, there's that.
Oh my goodness.
But word, man. All
right. Well, I think that's about it for this episode.
I think that was an appropriate amount of hilarity. I think we're good. We're gonna see y'all on the other side, man. You ready, Kev?
Yep.
All right, y'all. Let's get it going. Let's go.
Rap Sucks Radio. Blah, 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 blah.
What up, y'all? You are live on Rap Sucks Radio with your homeboy Track Life and your fam, Kev Sakota.
COVID.
Wait, off air, we were like, when a person coughs in the store, should they yell COVID like we used to yell Kobe when we shot a piece of trash in trash can, like COVID? That is so horrible.
That would definitely diffuse the entire situation.
People would be like, what? Yo, thank y'all for tuning in, man. If you want to catch any of our past episodes, you can go to rapsucksradio.com. Everything is there. We are plus 100 episodes in total, plus 70 episodes of the main event. You can also go to any of your favorite podcasting platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We on there. I don't believe we're on Pandora. We talk about that every week, but I'm tired of talking about it. So outside of iHeart, we on there. So if we're not on there, they whack. That's the answer to that. You can also catch us on TV. If you want to catch us on TV, you can go to BTSN Pass. That's Behind the Scenes Network. Here's what you do. You download the app or channel on your Roku, Fire Stick, or Fire TV. At that point, you go ahead and Kev. At that point, we actually have our own little area, like our own section. You scroll down, you look for Rap Sucks Radio. Every episode is right there in line. You can catch each and every episode that we have on BTSN. That's not all the episodes we've ever done. I think we're about 18 episodes in on BTSN, and we are not stopping there. So let's keep going.
Then what? Then
you just tune in right now. And don't hit yourself in the face.
Punch yourself in the face because you're so lucky.
Yo, for real, the homie Suge, when he is joking with you when you say something stupid, he says, yo, punch yourself in the face. Suge, I did it, man. I actually did it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't plan on doing it again.
Big
Yo.
Shug.
So, yo, who's doing too much this week, Kev?
Oh. Jesus. Peezus.
We have it.
Big Peezus.
I'm gonna defend Yeezy a little bit during this conversation, but this is music business doing too much. The topic title I have on this is 4080, the Yeezy remix. The reason for this conversation is Kanye West has publicly posted what he purported to be his Universal Music Group recording contract, sharing them page by page via Twitter. The source for this is the whole internet. Players involved, of course, Kanye and the record industry in general, which is what we're going to converse on. So on Wednesday afternoon, Kanye West publicly posted what he purported to be the Universal Music Group contract, sharing them page by page via Twitter. The documents, uploaded in no particular order, span almost 15 years and detail everything from the rapper's per album recording budget to his evolved royalty rates as his career went on. West's contract dump is the latest volley in his ongoing battle to regain control of his master recordings. I'll go ahead and read West's quotes here, Kanye's quotes. He says, "When you sign a music deal, you sign away your rights," he wrote on Twitter. "Without the masters, you can't do anything with your own music. Someone else controls where it's played and when it's played. Artists have nothing but to nothing except the fame, touring, and merch. And in a lot of cases, they don't. I'd like to interject that. West is far from the first artist to protest questionable principles in the music industry. The music industry was founded on and largely maintains to this day. But attorneys who have reviewed the document don't believe this act of transparency will help his cause. I also don't believe it will either, although I'm going to argue on his behalf with Kev. All right, Kev. Your initial response to this via Facebook. You want to go ahead and quote state your initial response to this?
Oh, I don't remember what I wrote. What did I say?
You said what? Artists can't be stupid, and record labels can't be trash or something like that at the same time.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, those are not mutually exclusive things. And I didn't say just stupid. I said artists can be naive and/or stupid, which are two, different things.
So my question,
can happen, and labels can be manipulative, diabolical entities at the same time. And my point is that that's really the business model,
right?
For better or for worse. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying it's nothing new to Kanye.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. What we discussed when we talked on the phone, because Kevin and I had a lengthy conversation about this, and I'm always on the side of the art, normally on the side of the artist. Now, let me throw in this real quick because I say this a lot of times when people ask me my opinion. Some people will, over the years, people have called me about their contracts. People have called me about their situations, and they've asked for my opinion. Not just your underground artists, but some people that have been in some pretty serious positions. And my thing is always this. When you see an artist fail, there are multiple reasons why they failed. When you see an artist get broke by a record label, there are multiple reasons why that's happened. 90% of the time, it's arrogance. 90% of the time, in my opinion. 90% of the time, it's arrogance. You know what I'm saying? Or extreme comfort. How about that? I'll take arrogance out. I'll just say, you get comfortable, right? A little bit complacent. But I think that it's for a reason, though. And if anything, my thing is, are artists, Kev, really naive? Or are they in a position to where this is the game? And you either play this
but
game
I'm not
or
talking
you don't
about.
get it.
I think an artist can be naive in their approach to signing a record deal.
Okay.
Which is separate from them being somehow, being complicit in their failure because of arrogance. And I'll add to what you said. I think an artist can do everything perfectly and make the best music they could possibly make and sign the best deal they could possibly sign, and they may still fail.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And it can be nobody's fault.
Well, I don't know about
but it can still
nobody's
happen
fault.
because it's a difficult thing to do. You know, it's just like in any other art or profession, where, you know, there's a very elite group of individuals, a small elite group of individuals who are considered the very best, who are recognized for being the very best. You can be that good and not get that recognition for any number of reasons.
Sure.
You know, like you may be as good as everybody else, but it may be 1950 and you may happen to be a woman.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So
okay.
yeah.
Yes. If we're including that narrative, definitely that's without any doubt.
But you go on.
Well, no, I there are a couple of things that keep swirling through my mind. Like I remember, man, I remember like it was yesterday, which is odd because I was 15 years old. I remember being 15, me and Live and the homie Taj were my sister was our manager at the time, and we were about to get a record deal with Immortal Records, actually. And they had the sponsor was Bum Equipment. That was the clothing sponsor that we were going to have. And my sister had gotten the opportunity through a friend of hers who was managing at the time. I've mentioned this. His brother's name was Jay, and another artist named Rick Knight, and another artist named Exhibit. They were all Jay and Exhibit were a crew. So that's how kind of the Immortal Records thing kind of came about, and we were getting ready to sign this deal. And I'll never forget a couple of things. One, the number of sales needed was like, my mind was blown. I never sold a record before in my life, so to see that like 300,000 copies was the starting point of ideal starting point of recoupment was pretty crazy, because I was like, wow, how do we even get to that number, right?
Right.
At the time, that was low. At the time, right? Like a lot of artists, if you were signing a deal, gold or platinum was the goal during that time, from what I remember. And I remember like 250,000 copies sold was like a failure, you know? Now that's like, whoa, you killed it. But back then it was like, you only sell 250,000 copies, man, you trash. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you something then, because I don't know if we've ever had this conversation. Did the label tell you up front that, was it a conversation where they said, listen, this is what's going to happen. We're going to spend money. You're going to have to recoup that money. And what recoup means is that you're going to have to sell enough records to cover the amount of money we're spending to promote your record. That amount of money is roughly equivalent to you selling 300,000 records. Is that what happened? Or did they put that in the paperwork somehow? Or
there were, now mind you, now we're talking about trying to remember 30 years ago.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because to me, that's the most straightforward way to say that to an artist. And I would hazard a guess that most labels don't even tell artists that.
No, they don't. And I think that was the interesting thing. I mean, growing older, right, and getting multiple contracts pushed in front of me for various reasons. That was the interesting thing about a few of them that I received, that there were numerical points, 200,000 copies, or and later on like 20,000 or whatever the argument, or whatever the hit number was. Where these kind of tiered groups of payment would happen, whether they were back then, it was points, you know what I'm saying? 2 points up to 100,000, 4 points past 100,000 to 250,000. I'm totally throwing numbers out there. Please do not quote me on these numbers, guys. I'm just throwing numbers out. And then, 8 points or more past the gold record, whatever, right? So, remembering it correctly, there were points that were attached to this kind of tiered system of sales. So that was upfront.
That's different though.
It is, but I'm saying, well, okay, that's different in what you're asking me, but it still falls the same in my mind looking at the numbers though. It's still the same.
Right. The way you analyze the situation.
Correct. Then, you don't, they never told me specific, I mean, within the contract, of course it was explained, but they never specifically said how that money was going to be spent, what the marketing budget was going to be like. I mean, there were short and brief meetings. My sister did the best that she could as a manager, but that was by no means her profession at the time, right? So, I don't know. I feel like looking back, we were all about to get jerked, and that's just the way that it was going to work. You know what I'm saying? Later on, let's say in an Exhibit fashion, you blow up, this is going to be really boring to some people, but you blow up and you owe Immortal money. So the next label that signs you has to somehow either include Immortal or pay off that contract or whatever. These type of things are the things that happen. So from the very first deal you take, you know, you start stacking up artist debt in a sense, you know?
Yep.
And I don't remember the upfront amount of money. I think it was like $150,000 between the three of us or something like that. But what I do not remember is whether that was tiered into like the production of the record and marketing and all that. I don't remember that. I don't remember whether we pocketed that as an advance or whether that was a recording budget. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of artists don't understand that those are two different things themselves. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like I said, I'm thinking back. I was 15 years old, and I'm trying to imagine myself being then in Kanye West's position when he signs this deal, his deal. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
What I will say, and a lot of people will say this is a woe is me thing, is the industry the industry and the fan base hates rappers. Rappers are the most hated things in music, in my opinion. And what is misunderstood and misguided in that is rappers are giving post information. As an artist, you might get jerked on a deal, and your next record will talk about not being jerked on a deal. It's post information. You know what I'm saying? You know what you're not when you walk in that door. If you walk in the door today, somebody's going to tell you you're not Kanye West. If you're Kanye West and you walk in the door, somebody's going to tell you that you're not Drake. You know what I'm saying? If you're Drake and you walk in the door, somebody's going to tell you you're not Celine Dion. Like they're constantly reminding you why you have to accept this deal because of the level that you have not accomplished. This next deal is for people that are on the next level. It's generally the argument that I've received whenever a contract has been put in front of me. Like, okay, you bubbled up here, but you're not here. And you know, that's what happens. So I'm always like, well, you either accept this deal and take a shot at whatever the next level is, or you don't, and after a while you kind of fade out, and that's the end. This is the level you're going to accept as an artist that is either independent or semi-independent, or, you know, dependent based on your last contract. You know what I'm saying? So that was our kind of discussion when we spoke about this last week. Like, yo, I feel like as an artist, you have to take one of these deals, because you're saying even if you do everything right, it still could go wrong. And I think that's kind of my point. Like, well, but you don't have a choice, in my opinion. And you were saying
I agree with 100% of you, everything you said, except for you don't have a choice. Okay, and that's where we disagreed, though? Right?
What is the option?
UPS.
Kev, no.
No, that's not the only option. The other option is, and those options are more plentiful today,
sure,
than they were when you were 15, or when Kanye first signed his actual artist agreement with Rockefeller.
Yeah,
his first artist agreement, right? Because now artists, and I don't think it's saying something that is presumptuous or glossy or, you know, too flowery, is that artists today, I think, have a bit more power in the grand scheme of things to do their marketing and to reach their audience on their own. It doesn't mean that you know, it's easy, or any easier necessarily than it was at any other time in history. But if they have a similar level of good fortune, which they don't have control over, and they have some decent music, you know, and they hit the right notes, no pun intended, they can actually do a good amount of business on their own.
Sure.
You know, which is, if you're talking about Chance the Rapper, you know what I mean? Or, you know, Trippie Redd, or somebody like a SoundCloud rapper kind of dude, right? Who, you know, has a you know, an audience that they build more or less on their own. You know, and then they were able to walk into a meeting with a label, and you're not talking about, you know, whatever $150,000 is in today's dollar. it's not $3 million that they're looking at now. You know,
Right.
They're looking at some real money, you know. And then you're having a conversation where it's like, well, if you're going to give me an advance and I know what recoupment means, then give me an advance that tells me that you believe you're going to recoup that money.
Right.
Don't give me an advance that tells me that you're hedging your bets right out of the gate.
Right.
And so that's what it is now. That's kind of where I'm coming from. But to answer your question, I totally understand feeling like you don't have a choice. But the choices are either maybe this is not the line of work that I want to go into, which is obviously not a choice you're willing to consider as a young artist, or I really do have to just press up, you know, cassettes or recordable CDs, do as many shows as I can, hit the streets. And we know people who have done this successfully.
Relatively.
You know, but we also know that to a, you know, just about to a person, not everybody, but almost all of those people have accepted that there, or you know, have proceeded with the understanding that there could very well be a ceiling to their level of sales and, you know, financial success or recognition or whatever that does not match their artistry or their work ethic. It's simply a function of them doing it themselves as opposed to having this multinational conglomerate marketing and selling their record, right?
Right.
But with that comes the trade-off that, hey, we're going to, and again, this is not defending the machine, but if you are going to use this machine, you have to pay to use it. If you're going to press up vinyl, it's not like recording cassettes over, you know, over old, you know, you can record cassettes off of, you can make that off of things you already have in the house.
Right.
You're recording off over, you know, the Al Green cassette that you have in the corner of the room, whatever the case may be, right? You know what I mean? You can do that.
Yeah.
You can get recordable CDs and make CDs and actually make it crack. But when you go to press vinyl, for the most part, you have to pay some money to do that, right?
Absolutely.
But that's the transaction. And the transaction with the record company, the only difference is that transaction is by design infinitely more complicated. They, you know, the mechanism and the way that the contracts are set up, I say is by design complicated. I'm sure there are lawyers and there are label people who will say that, oh, this is just to protect us and this is how it is. And we need all this to make sure that the label sees their fair share of, you know, the success of our project, right?
Right.
But come on. They put down an inch thick document in front of you so you don't read it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so you may feel, I understand feeling like you don't have a choice, but you have a choice.
Well,
Kanye had a choice. And he was not 15. He was also a person who had produced multi-platinum records.
Right.
While he was trying to become an artist in his own right. Again, I'm not saying that he was, you know, also getting a law degree at the same time and should have known better. But he had more exposure to the business side of the business, especially, you know, the major label side of the business and that high-end aspect of the music business than most people do in that situation.
Well, but the stages of his career are a little different, though, and they should be discussed. There's been a lot to say about his lawyer and Dame's lawyer being the same, you know, him using Dame's lawyer, right? But in this business, I'm using my own experiences personally, you know, as an example. You're going to trust somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's my theory about
right.
leaving your car door open. People always get on people like, you know, when something happens to somebody, the way they were slipping is always brought up, and I'm like, but no, that's not how this works. That's not how the things should work. If I leave my car door open and someone steals my radio, people will say it's my fault for leaving my car door open. You know what I'm saying? I would always argue, your ass shouldn't be in my car. Like, it doesn't. This is how leave something doesn't mean that it should be taken. Thus, the same with Kanye using the same lawyer as using Dame's lawyer in his contract. Look, the reality is, at some point you're going to trust somebody, right? And it seems to be like 9 times out of 10, or at least half the time, it's to your peril. You know what I mean? We've had conversations about various situations like this, right? I don't know about using De La Soul in that the argument of trust, but the master's ownership that Kanye's talking about is kind of the same conversation we had months ago, maybe a year ago, concerning De La Soul and their masters being, put out online against their will or what have you. So,
right.
But again, I think that seeing multiple people take this risk, which is basically what a record deal is. A record deal is a loan. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. It's a high interest rate loan. Have you seen, and listen, I'm sure the answer is yes, but have you seen people make it to the top, to the level that Kanye was trying to make it without the machine? Is my question.
Without the what?
Without the machine.
Oh, well, the fact that you have to think about it, I think sort of proves your point, is that it's generally speaking, making it to that level requires the machine,
right?
To for the most part.
So they're in in the same way you put in a job application not a job application or whatever, but you apply to be part of a top firm until you can make partner, and all these things are risk when you want to be an attorney or whatever. Then you get your own practice and blah blah blah. It's generally the same thing with different sections or different time balance or different you make a hit record out the gate, then it might move a little faster for you, right? So what we're seeing now is Kanye feeling like he's outgrown this machine. That's what I think we're seeing now. And we see a lot of artists go through this, right?
Sure.
Using De La as an example, like, I don't know, like De La doesn't need your machine now. De La's name is strong enough to hold a certain amount of sales off the rip, period. You know what I'm saying? They know what they could get into for the most part. Your machines are necessary,
But let's acknowledge the fact that while these are both conversations around the music industry and rap music in particular, the De La situation is different in a number of ways from what we're talking about with Kanye.
Okay.
Because with them, it was, to the best of my recollection, a conversation around them having a very global understanding of the situation they were in with at least their first couple albums, right? With the sample clearances, and them not wanting to, involuntarily be put in a situation where they could be exposed to additional legal harm because of what they had already gone through. They had already dealt with, the downside of not clearing samples.
Sampling, yep.
Right? For their entire career, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden they were being put in a situation where, unbeknownst to them, it was about to happen again.
Right.
But potentially, right? So that was a different situation. And again, I know my argument back then was, well, labels. It's like, and that's not an argument in favor of labels, but that's what they do. It's like, and that is one thing I will say in defense of what I think your position is, which is, if you enter into a situation where somebody gains your trust, especially if you happen to be a relatively young human being, and they gain your trust by whatever means they do that, you are brought up, if you are a good person, to believe that if you are nice to somebody and you trust them and you enter into a partnership with them, that they should do the same for you,
sure,
as long as that partnership lasts.
Right.
Unfortunately, that is not the deal that you are signing. And if there's nothing else that anybody can take, I know there are, countless 15-year-old music prodigies that are listening to this podcast. That is not a trust that you should give anybody.
What you just said hit me.
Who is not family, who is not actually coming up with you.
Yeah. But how do you get to the other side of this?
If you don't know them and they're going to give you something, You need to be smart enough to understand that they want something in return. The problem is that they don't tell you what it is that they want in return. But you are going to find out. Either you are not going to find out and no one's ever going to hear your name again, or you're going to find out because you're the biggest artist on the planet. And they are going to remind you every time you try to make a move in your professional life.
Well, A is what gets me the most. I'm going to say something very like, whoa, Trek, you think you're the best. I think a lot of my career was because I was too smart. I think a lot of these deals, I was asking the type of questions that, you know, a lot of contracts in my lifetime, I've asked questions that people didn't like me asking. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Sure.
Which, you know, look, it didn't have to be, and this is what I learned over the years. It doesn't have to be you. It never had to be Kanye. If Kanye doesn't exist, the music industry still exists. Records still get played on the radio. Somebody's going to be hot.
Yep.
They're going to spend some money to make somebody fresh. They're going to buy or fund or finance or whatever you want to call it, some radio stations, promotional vans or raps to get your song played on the radio. Like, these things are going to happen, whether they happen for somebody as terrible as Shade Shiest or as prolific.
Oh, come on. Come on.
All right, fine. Yeah, somebody as terrible as Shade Shiest, or as prolific at times as Kanye. You know what I'm saying? But I can use several analogies or you know, metaphors or what have you, similes or whatever. But it's like getting to the other side of that dark, foggy, murky, terrifying, filled with monsters river. You got to take that rickety, you know, pallet of sticks that's being guided by the dark figure, hooded figure with the sickle. Like, how do you get to the other side? The record industry is a dangerous ally, but they've aligned it to where you cannot get to the other side without them. You know what I'm saying? There's some point where you got to meet them and talk to them. Spotify is the perfect example, in my opinion. Spotify, of course, couldn't make a direct, or, I'm sorry, not couldn't. Well, couldn't, because labels had a lot of ownership of masters that Spotify needed. So making a deal with artists, a la Bandcamp in a sense, right, wasn't going to happen because the labels were the ones who had the ownership of these masters and publishing or whatever in some cases. So the deals with the labels. So the labels are taking the 70% of profit. People are mad at Spotify, but I don't know. You could throw stones at Spotify all you want. They're not really the ones that are taking all your money. The labels are the ones that are taking all the money. You know what I'm saying? And because of the deals that they have directly with these labels, it set the precedent for payment for everybody else. Now, maybe Spotify can go, if an artist is not signed to a label, maybe there should be a Spotify direct deal that says, hey, I don't have no label. Give me my 70%. Maybe you could do that. You know what I'm saying? Or you can sign yourself on as the record label, however that works on the back end. I'm sure somebody's done it right. It's not me, but somebody's done it, right? So, but the reality is, again, there they are. They're right there in the middle. Again, I just don't see how an artist can pursue this without taking that ugly contract. And it may not be as ugly as the next man's. It may not be perfect, but you're going to have to take it if you want to achieve the level of success that Kanye West has achieved. Him complaining about it now, people don't like Kanye, and by proxy, just generally don't like rappers in general. But I still don't see the choice. Like, I really don't see a single choice at all. It's either, unless we're calling quitting a choice. Like, I guess, you know what I mean? But nah, I don't even see how he could avoid that. You know what I'm saying? He could have gotten a different lawyer, I'm sure. Then the deal gets even more complex. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're right on the cusp of it. I just know it all too well. I just know the feeling all too well. And it didn't work out for me directly. But I'm saying I know the feeling all too well. Like, this deal's going to fall apart because we're asking these questions. I know it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? If I turn around and say, yo, Dame, why is your lawyer my lawyer? We've dealt with each other personally. So now the argument of trust is going to come up. There's going to be a lot that Dame controls about my record that now may fall into different different. They might have a different feeling about the record now. Like, there's all this personal interaction that goes on in this business interaction. Like, I could go on and on and on and on and bore the listeners even more. But
this is the thing, and this is not a comment on Kanye or Dame or you or anybody else that you and I have ever dealt with in the music industry. Is that, most artists, musicians who deal with record executives and ask the kind of questions that you asked, or don't ask the kind of questions you asked to their peril, are not asking a Clive Davis or a Berry Gordy or a Quincy Jones or, some sort of music industry impresario that we look at as, and idolize or revere as a pioneer in the music industry. They're dealing with people who probably don't know the answer to those questions.
Very true.
Right? Who are just willing enough to fake it or lie, or whatever, to make you sign. And that's not all of them. I'm just saying that by and large, the answers to these questions are very complicated. The explanations of these contracts, by term and by, word for word, page by page, is complicated. And I will, again, my opinion is somewhat by design, right? Either somewhat to maintain that control or to just confuse. Right? But at the end of the day, the reality of it, and this is not my opinion, this is a fact, is to protect the label. It is not to protect the artist. Right. So, and to Kanye's credit, very few artists get to the level that he's at to be able to even have, engage in these conversations. What came up later in the week after you and I had our phone conversation, after Kanye did what he did earlier in the week, you and I talked. And then I think the next day, somebody made mention of whatever negotiations Jay-Z had when, he did, I don't know if it was when he went to run Def Jam or what the deal was, but that he negotiated to get his masters back.
Right. Which turned out to not really be the case, but yes.
But when he did that, he was operating from a position of power, which if I'm misspeaking, I apologize, because I could very well be misspeaking. But my read of the situation, because I remember back when this happened, was that, Sean Carter, you now want to do something that I didn't sign a contract to do when I signed my recording agreement. I did that to be Jay-Z. Now you want me to run a business and to go into this, enter this endeavor with you. What we're going to do, though, is in order for me to do that, I need this, this, and this. I need ownership of these works that I created with you. But since you want me to do this additional work, this is what I need. And I don't know if that's how it happened. But if that's what happened, that's a different conversation, right? Sure. So, it would be a different thing if Kanye said, I'm going to do this Island Def Jam Adidas collab. You're going to have a stake in the, an equity stake in that endeavor. But in exchange, I want my catalog. And I'm talking completely off the top of my head, but, we're going to go ahead and we are going to make a line of shoes that look like they're made entirely of Nike Cortez soles, and we're going to be super successful. And in return, I'm going to get College Dropout and so on, right?
Right.
That's not what we're talking about.
Right.
He's talking about the terms of an agreement that he signed for things that were in the body of that agreement. Period.
Yes. Things that I feel like he wouldn't have been able to move forward without signing either way.
And you know what? I don't disagree with you on that.
So
that could very well be true.
I mean, it's
and it's very likely that it would not have achieved the level of success that it did without that partnership.
Right. Which is a kind of a dual conversation, because what success looks like on the outside, the popularity, the fame. He mentioned fame and touring and merch, which, with a 360 deal, you don't even get your touring and merch all the way, right?
Right.
But, what is success, in a sense, in the music industry? You know what I'm saying? And the more, there are multiple tiers of vulnerability. There's vulnerability in your artistry. There's vulnerability in your business. There's the vulnerability of fame, right? In order to be legendary, you have to accept all of those vulnerabilities, all of them. There is no avoiding one and keeping the other. Well, you might be able to avoid musical vulnerability if you are like Smash Mouth or something like that. But, that's not a diss. I'm just saying. But, or if you're just making cookie cutter music, is. Right? Like this, okay, let me not say that because I don't want to diss Smash Mouth on our radio show. But if you're an artist that's making music that...
Wow. You are going to take... You're firing at Shade Shiest and you're giving Smash Mouth a pass?
Wait a minute. Hold on.
COVID.
COVID. Okay. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go into this. What I'm trying to say is you might be able to avoid musical vulnerability if you're making cookie cutter music that doesn't matter, right? But the fame, the vulnerability of fame, the vulnerability of business by contract, you're not going to be able to avoid that if you want to make it to a certain success level in the record industry, right? Kanye is now a shining example of that. He is not Kanye West without signing that deal. Now, I'm interested to see who disagrees with me on this. Especially, I'm interested in Omega's rundown and, of course, Fiz's opinion on this. And anybody, Jeff, the Boston fan, I'm interested in most of the Spit Kickers' opinions because a lot of the talk about the Kanye contract was not in Spit Kicker particularly. So shout out to Spit Kicker, but overall on Twitter it was goofy. It was corny talk. Like, y'all get out of here. People who've never been through this. I know that everything is a contract from your mortgage agreement to your rental agreement. I know that people understand contractual agreements. I get it. I don't want to take that away from you. You guys are all very intelligent. But concerning this record stuff, you're dumb because you've never really been in the positions that artists are in. And this is not a woe is me. This is just a fact. You know what I mean? If Trek Life asks questions to his peril, somebody else didn't ask questions to their peril. Would I have been even as popular as Little Brother had I decided to not ask questions? Who knows? Maybe I'll fall off and end up in similar positions sales-wise. Maybe not artistically, but sales-wise, right? But whether you do or you don't, you are accepting you're accepting the risk of not being here tomorrow by not. You know what I'm saying? By saying no to that contract or asking more questions than people are comfortable with, you end up in positions to where you have no choice but to work for UPS because that is your only option or your main option left. It's like your homeboy said. Right, sometimes that short contract, that small contract is stopping an eviction notice. And that's what I'm trying to get at.
Exactly. Right. So I want to address what you said, but I want to preface it with both sidesism.
Okay.
Here. Because the first thing I said to you when this came up was, how is everybody on Twitter all of a sudden either a seasoned vet music exec,
right,
or alternately a musician or an artist of any kind in a situation to sign this type of contract? All of a sudden, everybody knows what they're talking about, right? And no, you don't.
No.
I think at least halfway to your point, right? Mm-hmm. 2, yes, an agreement is an agreement. The law is the law, whether we like it or not. A contract is a contract, whether it's fair or unfair. Somebody benefits from that contract. At the very best, a legal agreement protects both sides against the worst thing that could happen in that agreement.
Sure.
Equally, sure. Right? Right? And in that agreement, nobody walks away with every single thing that they wanted, right?
Right.
But that's like talking about the principles of economics as opposed to the realities of economics, right?
Right.
That's what it's supposed to be. But very few people in the world have ever negotiated a contract that has at its heart as a product their creativity, their heart, their soul.
Right.
And so I say that to say that I get what you're saying.
Okay. Sure.
I have an answer for it that is kind of a jerky answer.
Okay.
But I get it. I totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will also say to you is that you asked those questions not because, and it came from a part of you that is not the artist part necessarily, right? Which is just I have some common sense, so let me ask these questions. Because I don't want to end up having to kill this dude.
Right. Or just in a position
right?
where, yeah.
Or I don't want to end up having to punch this dude in the mouth 4 weeks from now.
Right.
Right?
Sure.
And you made a decision based on that. Right?
Yeah. Or the decision was made for me. In a couple cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're saying your thinking is that you asked these questions, so they said this guy's a little bit too smart.
Well, or deals are hot and cold, man. Everybody's hyped on Monday to sign you.
Right.
They go out drinking and hear another band or artist on Monday night, and by Wednesday, it ain't that big of a deal.
Right.
I'm shortening it, but you know what I'm saying.
But on the other side of the coin is it's funny because also this week, and I can't actually remember what day this was, but it was literally this week, and I can't remember if it was 24 hours before or 24 hours after this all came up and you and I spoke. I watched the Hyro Day was last weekend, the virtual Hyro Day.
Yeah.
And they I assuming that they just finished this Till Infinity sort of retrospective about the first album, Souls of Mischief album.
Sure.
And it's something that if you are interested in this conversation and you have not seen that, you should go on YouTube and watch it, because they talk about their deal with, their negotiations for a contract, their sort of lead up to that, the deal with Jive, how that played out, the fact that they actually in the deal retained the ownership of their masters, which I think I should have known and remembered.
They do that? Tribe didn't even do that.
But I didn't. I certainly didn't remember it. I should have. I think I might have been told that, but I certainly didn't remember it. And so I was, definitely reminded of that to the extent I was like, "Oh, wow, that's okay." And then when that deal soured for whatever reason, they were able to walk away and then continue to do what they've been doing, and also benefit from that project that in large part, catapulted them to the level that they're at now.
Very smart. Domino's very smart man.
So it's them, right? That story is a story that is a counter narrative. Again, it's not that Hyro has gotten to the place that maybe they would have if everything had fallen into place with the biggest record label in the world. Okay, but can we make an argument that they're not successful? Absolutely not.
No, it's not possible.
But you can look at, there are different models to this, right? Whether we're talking about, living legends. They have always done it on their own, for whatever reason, right?
Sure.
And they're the only guys I know who can go out and sell 20,000 records, and many people who listen to rap have never even heard of them.
Odyssey would be another one.
Odyssey, yes, absolutely.
But
and if you can do that, you can make a good living.
Right? My bad on cutting you off, but Dell took the contract L first for them to learn from that situation, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know how that.
Because to my understanding, what happened between. I'm not saying that he was jerked for any reason, but it wasn't the greatest situation. It was, a typical situation of the time. How they retained their masters, though, I got to watch that because I got to see how in the hell they did that during that time, because I don't think Tribe was even able to do that. So that's an interesting story.
Yeah, and so, since we're talking about Kanye, let's talk about Taylor Swift, since we don't have as much of any kind of emotional connection with her. Is that she's going through a lot of the same stuff right now. She's just not, peeing on her Grammys and stuff.
Sure.
On video, right?
Yeah.
It's a thing that unfortunately happens, and the only reason we hear about it from a Kanye West or a Taylor is not because they've been through something different, but it's because they have achieved a level of success that makes us listen, right? Sure. And also, I'm approaching this whole conversation today, Saturday, the 19th of September, differently than I would have even earlier this week, because rest in peace, Ruth Bader Ginsburg
Man.
who just passed away yesterday,
Yeah.
I now look at Kanye even more differently. I'm not even, you know what? I'm not even mad at people who support Trump anymore. I'm not mad, because they voted.
Right.
I'm mad at Kanye beyond anything having to do with this conversation because he's getting in the middle of all these different issues that are actually affecting my life.
Right.
I don't care what happens with his contract.
All right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's also showing that he's not qualified. If anything, if we're going to go that route, now he's not qualified to listen to concerning matters of the country as well, right?
The only thing I can say for Kanye right now is that he made auto-tune crack when it had no business cracking, and he does not have weak stream. Those are the only two things I can say about Kanye.
All right. Well,
God bless him. God bless him on both counts.
well, I'm gonna let it roll on that one because I definitely don't.
And his lawyer is an undisputed angel.
I'm gonna let it roll on that one. Yo, thank y'all for listening to Rap Sucks Radio, man. Again, if you want to catch our past episodes, you can catch us on rapsucksradio.com or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. Again, I don't believe that we're on Pandora, but I don't know. Maybe we're there. Who knows? I don't think so though. Or you can catch us on BTS Impact. Shout out to Kanye for this one. I'm gonna get on this TV, mama. You can download the Apple channel on your Roku, Fire Stick, or Fire TV. Once you click on the app, we have our own section, the Rap Sucks Radio section. My daughter is making it happen in the kitchen, by the way. So if this is picking up on the microphone, shout out to my daughter for really not paying any attention to what she's doing.
She on the leaf blower?
She's like making ice, and she's got her headphones on, so she doesn't even know what's happening. It's not a thing. This microphone is not a thing to her. So anyway, thank y'all for listening. My name is Trek Life. I'm your fam Trek Life, or I'm your homeboy Trek Life, and that is your fam Kev Sakota.
COVID.
Thank y'all for listening very much. And on the count of three, we say peace. 1, 2, 3. Peace.
Peace.
We out, y'all.